Hi everyone, Yaku from tutortouch. In this video, I will be going over the accessibility features that we have implemented into the tutortouch interactive panels. This will also form part of a series that we are doing called In Accessibility and Inclusive Learning, which will also lead up to our next webinar on the 13th of March with Zaid Jardine, our guest speaker from Bella Vista School, just to talk about how they have implemented tech into the school and how that has affected the teachers and students. All right, so with that being said, I want to quickly jump back to the panel, just touch on to some of the accessibility features that we have implemented and some other cool nifty features that I would consider accessibility, but might just be seen as ease of use. But anyway, so first of all, this QR code over here is basically our NFC card. Essentially, anybody that has access to a tutortouch panel can scan this QR code and sign into their account. And with their account, I mean their school account. With other words, whichever one of these your schoolwork uses, if it's a Microsoft school or a Google school, you can sign in using your school email address, and then you have instant access to your cloud drives, meaning that you can teach wherever you are. In a perfect world, everybody will have access to an interactive panel, and then you can move from classroom to classroom. But what this also means is you can teach wherever in the world you are. So let's say you are teaching today in South Africa and you are next week in the UK. However, they also have tutortouch panels. You can simply scan the code, log in with your content, and still be teaching as if you were in South Africa. All right, so with that being said, I'm going to go into our settings quickly and then just go over some of the cool nifty features that we have. So number one, if I come to system at the bottom here, just want to touch onto some of the eye protection features. So we have a blue light filter. Well, it's a yellow filter, but it's for blue light, essentially making the panel easier to use. You can use it for longer periods of time without having the worry or having to worry about damaging your eyes. And we also have this automatic backlight feature, which will basically allow the panel to adjust its own brightness depending on the room, so that it also doesn't emit too much light. Let's say you're sitting close to it and in a very bright room, the panel doesn't need to be bright, can dim itself a little bit for you, so it's easier to use. All right, and then just moving on from there, I'm just going to turn them off quickly. Going into input and output, we do have our camera gesture identifier. So essentially what this does is it allows you to control the panel with gestures and hand controls. So for instance, the top one there you'll see is back. So if I hold my panel, my hand up, it should go back to the previous menu. You can also show thumbs up, which should increase the volume, as well as thumbs down, which will then in turn decrease the volume. All right, so that's just some of the gestures. I mean, there's quite a lot more. Not going to go into all of them. Just wanted to touch onto some of them. And then lastly, here in personal, I just want to touch onto gestures as well. So other than the gestures that you can do via a camera, we also have some gestures that you can use on the panel. So for instance, 5-finger slide left. If I turn, let's make that mark, I can, for instance, be teaching on a panel, and then just by swiping 5 fingers left, it will activate the mark feature, allowing me to then point certain things out on the panel, do annotations, and it just makes my life a little bit easier. From there, I'm just going to turn this off again. From there, we also have the window control bar, which allows you to move this window control to wherever you are, giving all types of people access to use the panel. Unfortunately, we are not all the same height, same build, or we don't all look the same. So some people might have an issue or might have trouble coming to the top of the panel, which we can then circumvent by making it go to the side of the panel, allowing you to access it from the bottom. It just makes life a little bit easier, and it makes sure that everybody is included in the conversation and helps everybody to use the panel. All right, so lastly, I just want to touch onto Vitello Share, which is this application at the top here. This application is a screen mirroring application. However, it also allows you to cast the panel to a device. It can be a laptop, a mobile device, anything of that sort. So I'm going to say start desktop sync. It's going to prompt me on the panel. I'm going to say start now. And then on my laptop, you will see if I move this in frame now, you will see that it sees what the panel sees. So if I go onto the Node program and I write something in the Node program, it will come up on my computer. Basically, what this allows you to do is it allows you to include everybody in the conversation. Let's say you have students that have some vision impairments or are struggling to see far distances. This will allow you to immerse them into the lesson by sending the lesson to their devices. They can see and understand everything, and they will be so much more immersed in the lesson and they will feel free to ask questions and just be more involved. I've seen this being done at one of our schools, and it was absolutely amazing. So that's one of the other features I just wanted to touch onto. And then other than that, if I move this out of frame quickly, you can also manipulate the panel by using a mobile device. So if I come to the application and quickly connect to the panel, once I press essentially, you can do the same thing by sending the panel to the device, which will include a lot more people. However, you also have the option to access a remote control. So from my phone, I now have a cursor on the panel, which will allow me to, for instance, if I want to stand in the back of the classroom and teach a PowerPoint presentation, or maybe I can't stand for extended periods of times, or perhaps I'm in a wheelchair, then this allows you to manipulate the panel without physically having to stand in front of the panel. All right, so that's all I wanted to touch on in this video. In the webinar, we will be going into more details. Like I said, we'll be going into more details with the accessibility features, as well as talking to Zaid Jardine about everything that we've just discussed and how they are implementing tech into their schools. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Yaku from tutortouch.